All right, in this video, we're going to look at specialized cell types, tissues, actually basically organs in plants. And of course, this is how an organism is organized. Multicellular organism is made up of many trillions of cells, but those cells are organized into tissues, which organize themselves into an organ, say, for example, like a leaf, right? Because a leaf has got the vascular tissue, or the xylem and the phloem. It's got the spongy cells. It's got the cuticle on top, the epidermis right underneath that. It's got the palisade cells. All of those different cell types grouped together, different tissue types to make an organ. Organs work together to make the whole system, and then, of course, the organism. So yeah, we're going to look at those specialized cell types in all plants. Of course, we've already been looking at the leaf here. Make sure you know all of these specialized cell types in the leaf. But let's begin, do a quick overview, and then yeah, we're going to head outside and show you some things with some real plants. But let's show you the screen here. Okay, so ultimately, yeah, once again, make sure you do know the specialized cell types that make up the leaf, all of these. Of course, critical, the palisade cells running photosynthesis with their chloroplasts. Need to know, of course, the formula for photosynthesis. Guard cell, how the guard cells work. If they're full of water, they're going to swell and open up the stoma. The stoma is basically a hole, but you can consider that a specialized cell type within the cell. And yeah, we're going to put it all together, look at the rest of the plant, starting down with the roots, following up the stem, and then through and into the leaves. And you can consider these all basically organs, right? So, the roots are a certain type of an organ, a stem is a certain type of organ. Again, made up of not just specialized cells, but of course specialized cells, but also those cells grouped into tissues, those tissues grouped into organs, and then the organs all working together. And of course, we can kind of see here water moving from the roots all the way up and out the stoma right there. Water's coming out, goes right through a plant because, a plant wants to have excess water. Okay, let's go outside and continue this lesson. Okay, science 10. So yeah, so let's take a look at it. We're out here. We're going to look at a plant. We're looking at the specialized cells, tissues, and organs in plants all together. So yeah, let's flip the camera here. Ultimately, there's a quick overview. We're going to be looking at the root, something called root hairs, stem, of course, where you're going to mostly find xylem and phloem. There'd be other types of cells in the stem. And the leaf, it's got xylem and phloem as well, obviously, but epidermis, palisade, spongy tissue, stomata, and guard cells. All of these are specialized cell types. So we've got it already pre-dug. I think you know what kind of a plant this is. If you take a look carefully here, you can see the main root, but also these little root hairs, and they can go even smaller than what we see here. And ultimately, their job is to attract water, to draw water from the soil, and to build a bit of a root pressure. There will indeed be a fair amount of water inside of a root, but it's got highly concentrated salts and sugars, basically something called a Xylem Sap. And that Xylem Sap can act to basically draw the water, because sugars and salts act like a sponge to draw the water out of the soil into the root. Also, what's happening in the root hairs, there's active transport, so needing ATP, right? So the active transport needs to get certain nutrients and minerals into the root so that then it can, once again, draw water in. That's its ultimate job, if you like, is to get water in and nutrients and stuff. Okay, so from the root, we go up into the stem of the plant here, and basically these stems. So definitely we're going to be looking at xylem and phloem right here. So, of course, xylem is taking water, and the phloem is going to be taking the sugars, the glucose to the rest of the plant. And specifically down here at the root here, if it's needing ATP, it's going to need glucose to come and be burnt in cellular respiration to recharge the ATP. Okay, so yeah, we got our roots and our root hairs, and we've got our stem here. That's basically like an organ, and it's got xylem and phloem. And then, of course, we've got our leaves. So, we do know the key cells in the leaf on the epidermis on the outside. And essentially, it's going to be feeling a little bit waxy there, and it's a clear, so they can see right through like a window to the palisade cells where all of the chloroplasts are. That's why this is green up here, right? So the leaf is indeed a special organ made up of multiple types of tissues. And so yeah, epidermis,
tissue. It's going to be made up of palisade tissues or palisade cells. And of course, the spongy tissue, you know, there is a bit of airspace inside for the carbon dioxide that it needs to draw in, for the oxygen that it's producing in photosynthesis, and even for the water that's coming up from the roots, right? There needs to be a little bit of space in there, and the spongy tissue allows for that. Finally, up in the leaf, the stomata and the guard cell. And, you know, again, these guard cells are definitely going to be open if there's enough water in this plant, and certainly there is today. It's just rained recently, plus we were watering. So indeed, the guard cell should be open, allowing CO2 in, oxygen out. Also, this plant does indeed let water out of it. It's transpiring through the stomata. You know, another key organ here would be the flower, and the flower of the plant. That's its sex organ, basically. Not covered in this course, but just so you can appreciate all of the different cell types, tissues. Those tissues are grouped together into organs, and of course all of the organs into organ systems, and then eventually we get the whole plant. We've got the whole plant right here. Cool thing about dandelion, even though I ripped it out of the ground, it'll easily grow back because, you know, there's still a little bit of the root down there in the hole. Okay, so there is your specialized cells in plants. Make sure to study those and to know those. Take care, Science 10.